One day when the girl came to her senses, she found herself in the world of a novel called Chloroquine Spikes. This is a love story between the main character Ben and the main character Lucy against the backdrop of a war that lasted 11 years. Character in whose body the girl got, villain Senalia Daphne, who was not chosen by the Grand Duke and died tragically. But she was born a Senili and was happier than anyone else, the home of the Daphne family. The girl still doesn't believe that she could have such a beautiful and incredible child. For her and her husband, it was a real gift from the universe. Their daughter grew up with loving parents. There was everything for her comfort around her. Such a life can only be envied. When the girl grew up and learned to walk, she very often approached her father and said that she would become a great ruler, like him. She decided from the day she was born that since she was given a chance to live another life, it should be very bright and definitely not boring. Here some people are already entering the room. Senalia was calmly having breakfast with her parents, drinking tea, and still doesn't understand what's going on. Is it really something serious? These people say that His Majesty is looking for their daughter and ordered her to be brought to his office immediately, whether she wants it or not. The guys can't do anything. They just received an order and must carry it out. The capital, the Imperial Palace. Something tells me that from this day on, the girl's life can change very much, but it is not clear whether for the better or for the worse. She was warned that until His Majesty orders her to speak, she must not do so. And even if she doesn't like something, she should under no circumstances show it. Even they don't let her get close until they get permission to do so. They were just holding her back with swords, and now they're starting to let her go and tell her to move on. As expected, the girl greeted the emperor. She said her name, what family she was from, and expressed her respect to the son of the great empire. He looked at her with a very thoughtful look, not in a hurry to say what she was doing here, and most importantly, how long she would stay here. And then he starts talking about reincarnation. She immediately realized that he knows something about it, and probably he is the only one, and maybe even somehow involved in it. Senalia doesn't quite understand what to expect from him next. She asks what he means, just in case, so as not to misunderstand him. He tells her directly that she has reincarnated, and he also looks at her with a menacing gaze, as if he doesn't like something. The guy named the novel The Thorns of the Chloroquine, which are known as those who defy causality, are believed to have exceptional powers through reincarnation or possession. There have been rumors for years that such abilities can make a person an emperor if he wants it. You understand why he invited her here. His number is afraid that she can move him from his place. He also said that maybe she didn't know, but he had been watching her for the last few years and realized that she was not following her predestined destiny. Senalia still doesn't understand much about what he's getting at, when suddenly at that moment, it was as if she was hit on the head and all the actions she had performed came back to her mind. The man who is the great prince of Benarusia and with whom she was supposed to fall in love. And on top of that, she had to cling to him and act so pathetically that it became a widespread rumor in the empire. But having got into this body, she didn't even meet him. And also, she is very confused by the fact, how does the emperor know about the thorns of the Chloroquine? This was not at all in the original story. At that moment, when she was thinking very seriously, he called her name again and said that since she was not answering his question, this means that his expectations were met. And meanwhile, the more he says something, the less she understands what it could mean. And then he said the most important thing, she should know that he is the thorns of the Chloroquine, which means that he strongly despises everyone who has reincarnated. This is because they seem to him capable of ruining his position. At that moment, the girl felt an internal sense of anxiety. She realized that she had fallen into the emperor's trap, and he would not let her go so easily. The current emperor is a real yesterday. He is a man with an insatiable thirst for power, and his mother destroyed all his relatives except Benarucci. With such a temperament, it is obvious that he will hunt down everyone like Senalia. One can only guess what will happen to her now. The easiest way for him is to get rid of her in a matter of minutes. But if he wanted to do that, he would hardly have invited her to his place and would have started talking to her, only wasting time on it. She doesn't want to think about dying at the hands of the emperor. But even if it happens, she would prefer that it was only her and that her parents not be held accountable for giving birth to such a child. Although anything could happen, she doesn't even want to imagine what they might go through, how they might be treated, and how unfair it all would be. She has only one option left, albeit a dubious one, but still an option to win the emperor's favor and his goodwill. The emperor was always worried that his close relative, the Grand Duke Benarucci, might want to take over the emperor's position, because he was the only one who could compete with his majesty, and the emperor learned that their forces were almost equal. So when the emperor started to restrain Benarucci, the main character Lucy tried to stop him and was poisoned on the battlefield. After this, the Grand Duke, while waiting for Lucy's return, deliberately met with ordinary noble daughters who posed no threat. Eventually, the leading lady Lucy returned, and together they quickly and easily overthrew the emperor. Meanwhile, the girl asks him to give her some time so that she can prove that she does not pose any threat to him. And also, she offers to do this, to help him with the Grand Duke, to make it so that he cannot take the title from him. Senelia swore that she would not let him down, would not deceive him after all. Her life was at stake, and it seemed to her that such an option would suit both of them. Just in case, she has one more idea. She can make the Grand Duke fall in love with her and manipulate him, and also advise him to do only what will be beneficial to the emperor. His Majesty says that it is very interesting. He likes that she is so funny and did not immediately give up or cry. But just in case, he warned that, firstly, if she did deceive him or something didn't work out, she would regret it very much. And secondly, that it was almost impossible. The prince was not the most naive person, and in order to find an approach to him, she still had to try. And also, many people don't know what he's really like. They believe rumors, but rumors don't even come close to what those who know him personally know about him. In fact, he wants to agree to this deal only to test his enemy. He is sure that it will not work. He can only be surpassed by his Majesty, but even he himself is not sure of this. To cheer her up a little, he said that at least she had a small chance. Lucy was on the battlefield now, and if she was nearby, there would be no chance. In the end, he simply wished her luck, reminded her once again to think it over carefully, because it would only waste her time, and so would he. And so the girl was completely trapped by the emperor. She set herself an impossible task and still does not know whether it was a mistake or not. As soon as His Majesty left on his business, she began to obsessively study everything connected with the Grand Duke. As if she had gone crazy, she devoted every second of her time to this. His favorite food, favorite smells, music, and books. She memorized all of this thoroughly, even better than anything about herself. She also learned about his habits. It was important to learn his daily routine, warnings, even the places he liked to visit the most. Her parents were worried, seeing how drastically she changed overnight. But the girl desperately clung to this love and tried not to look at how hard it was for them. As a result of all this enormous work that she has done during the week, she meets him for the first time at a royal banquet, and he himself offers her to dance a slow dance. The girl didn't even force herself on him. He noticed her himself, came up to her and wanted to get to know her. And from that moment on, the most interesting part begins. He can't be allowed to slip away. You could say that he fell into a trap exactly the same as she did. Naturally, Senelia accepts his offer because this is exactly what she wanted, and now she needs to somehow make a good first impression. The girl thought she would be focused, but she didn't notice how quickly time flew by. They talked for hours. Somehow their preferences coincided. They didn't notice anyone around them, and each sincerely enjoyed the conversation. He even told her that she is not like other girls. He feels so comfortable with her, as if they have known each other for a long time. Everything is going so smoothly that they already had their first kiss. And if things continue like this, she will definitely be able to avoid a bad ending. 6 years later, page of the Grand Duke Afron. The girl is sitting at the table, and he asks her how busy she is. After all, they are here together. He starts hinting that she should put the book away. They haven't been able to spend time together lately, and he suggests going for a walk. He even found a place in advance that she would definitely like. It's just strange that she was so relaxed in reading her book at the moment when she could have been engaged in a relationship. Over these 6 years, their relationship has become such that no one and nothing can separate them. There is only one moment. They are lovers and are forced to hide. Senelia doesn't worry about it because the main thing is that her family is safe and she herself is still alive. Now you just need to maintain this relationship. Keep everything at such a level that he doesn't get bored and doesn't think that she's cooled off towards him. Meanwhile, they had already gotten ready, went outside and went on a date. He still hadn't told her where they were going. He wanted to make it a surprise. It's very good that he tries so hard, that he cares about the details, and suddenly he hinted that it wouldn't be a walk, but rather shopping in a very good boutique. And also his old friend Luna loved this store very much. She said that it was the best store she had ever been to. Instead of being happy and saying how much she wants to get there as soon as possible, she sits there with an expression on her face as if she is being forced to do it. And then he starts hinting that he plans to break up with Lucy, the main character, who has been dating the Duke for a long time. In all these years, the guy never mentioned her, and it's very strange that he started talking about her right now. Senelia is acting very strangely. She should be happy that he does everything for her. She doesn't even have to try in this relationship, but she is clearly unhappy with something, and it seems like she has relaxed too much. She probably thinks that everything has already worked out, and there is no need to try to please anyone, in any case. More on that later, but now they have already arrived at the store. Here, as usual, there are a lot of ladies who also want to pick out something beautiful for themselves, but for some reason the consultants only help her. The girl wondered if he really wanted to give her such a gift. It couldn't be that they came here just to try on clothes. The two of them immediately told the consultants that they completely trusted their taste. The girls began to select what suited her type, and the lady was already satisfied. They have so many options for her that all you can do is try them on and hold back so as not to buy out the entire store in a couple of minutes. For example, this dress, it is the most expensive, the most beautiful, but it really suits her the most. As soon as the girl tried on this gorgeous dress, a thought came to her mind, even a few. As far as she remembers, people always like to dress in light shades that perfectly matched her hair color. And this may mean that the guy specifically brought her to this store so that there were things that he was usually used to seeing Lucy in. Senelia is very different from her and doubts that the same clothes as the main character suit her. It also seemed to her that the consultants seemed to be choosing clothes for her too quickly, as if they were accustomed to the Duke's taste and choosing the same thing for him, regardless of who he came with, so that he would compliment his lady and she would think that it suited her very well. Senelia thought that over all these years she had managed to get rid of even the Duke's thoughts about that girl. But no, he clearly brought her to this place intuitively, and the more she thinks about it, the more often thoughts appear that she might make a mistake, or is even making one right now. She begins to feel that she needs to do everything in a new way. Do it in such a way that he has no time or desire to think about anyone but her, so that he would constantly want to talk to her, give her compliments, admire her, and consider her the best in the whole world. Returning home, she drinks her coffee, realizing that if things continue like this, he might leave her, which means the Emperor will have an enemy again. Lucy should disappear from his life. He should even have all those habits and memories of the past. You need to become an integral part of his life so that he even stops hiding this relationship and does not think about how his ex-girlfriend will react to it. At that moment, she raises the bell, calls the assistant, who arrives literally in a matter of seconds. The lady says that from now on at this time every day, the assistant will have to deliver the coffee that she prepared for the Grand Duke. The assistant says she understood everything and then admits there is something else she needs to tell her. Recently, she heard rumors about the Grand Duke, and it seems that the lady should know about it. Meanwhile, Senelia was invited to one event. She thanked the lady nominee for the invitation and even complimented her on her outfit. The servants helped her sit down in the place they had prepared for her, asked her to wait a few minutes, and she didn't mind. Other girls began to notice that Lady Senelia had appeared alone and concluded that the rumors were true. Namely that the Grand Duke of Benarucci has met someone new and has not been seeing his ex-girlfriend for a long time. Of course the girl heard all this. She expected it to be like this. They say when it rains, it pours. At the moment when she began to feel the distance between them, although she herself was to blame for it, he appeared with another noble lady as if he was waiting for this chance. It so happened that on that very day they were at the same event, and he came here not with her, but with the same lover, which she herself was. The guy said he had things to do, and now she saw what he was really doing. He didn't think they would see each other here, but that's not what's important. What's important is that now the girl's life is in danger. It was the assistant who suggested her to check on her lover. She made sure that the lady was invited to the event at the very last moment. Maybe if it was a normal betrayal, she would have survived it, but since her life depends on it, it's somehow much more serious. The girl doesn't even know how to react to this. On the one hand, it's very bad, but on the other hand, she was once in the place of his new chosen one and can't blame her. Special places were provided for these two. The guests were divided into groups in advance, and the most comfortable location was allocated for the Duke and his beloved. It's very painful on this side how they laugh, communicate nicely, and yet just recently she was in this place. As expected, he was tired of constantly seeing her unhappy with something. There was no reciprocity from her. She got her way and relaxed too much, and this is what came out of it. Until this moment, the guy did not see that she was there. But when he turned around to look at the people, he immediately noticed her nearby and could not believe his eyes. It turns out that I'll have to make him fall in love with me again. Only this time, it will be much more difficult. If she was lucky the first time and he did everything himself, then now she will have to work hard. After all, if he left her, there is very little chance that the guy will change his mind. In the end, they pretended that nothing was happening, and when it was all over, the girl returned home and didn't want to see or hear anyone. She is very sad. She understands that she herself ruined everything. Everything was perfect, and now there are even more problems than there were. Her assistant is already looking for her all over the house to tell her that the Grand Duke is waiting for her. He arrived a little later and urgently wants to discuss something with her. The woman sees that something is bothering the girl, but she couldn't tell the gentleman that it's better not to disturb her now. Senelia decided that she didn't need to run away from him, hide, they would still have to talk, and it was better to do it now than later. Here they are already sitting at the same table, silent. No one knows where to start, but they still need to start. The guy says that as far as he understands, she will want to move out of his place and hints that she shouldn't do that, as if he hasn't yet decided who he wants to be with. He understands how angry she is after what she saw, but asks her to stay for a while and not rush to conclusions. In any other situation, if she loved him, of course, she wouldn't even listen to this. But since there are no feelings, since he himself is not against her being with him, in this house, it's probably better to accept this offer. At least she will gain time. She will be able to come up with something, but it is not yet clear why he needs it. It seems like he's just bored and constantly wants to be with someone new. But it's not like all the girls agree to be second best for him, that he might have someone else. He also says that she shouldn't have known that he had someone. It sounded a little weird, and also, she didn't hear a single apology from him. Usually in such situations, people apologize, try to explain something, and he just asks her not to leave. Senelia has no idea what he has planned, why he needs her to stay. Everything is somehow too suspicious. She tells him that she doesn't know yet what is the best thing to do. After all, she has her own feelings and honor, which apparently mean nothing to him. If you look at the situation from the outside, he went and traded her for another girl. And if he had truly loved her, he would never have even come to this. She explained to him using her own example that if she were in love with someone, other men would simply not exist for her, and given the situation, it turns out that he either fell out of love with her or never loved her. In order not to talk about it for too long, he asked to tell her right now what she decided. After all, it is not so difficult and everything can be discussed right now. To which she boldly replied that she was leaving his estate, would live in her own house, and if she changed her mind, she would let him know. Meanwhile, the next day has come. The Duke is at training as usual. He never misses a single lesson to keep himself in shape and always be ready for unforeseen situations. He believes that if there is no discipline in something, then it is impossible to achieve any result. And if it does work out, it will not last long. He even has a whole schedule. On some days, he trains to stay in shape with those who are a little weaker than him, and on other days, in order to get better, he chooses someone stronger so that it is harder. Today was supposed to be an easy day, but he has a lot of energy, so he invited a worthy opponent. The training ended, and as soon as he started to leave, the silhouette of Senelia flashed in his head, as if he was not ready to say goodbye to her and wanted to talk again. He doesn't like that they live separately now. He's so used to her that he can't accept that everything turned out this way. It lasts only for himself, because if he had not done so, everything would have been as before. It's slightly cloudy outside today. All his strength after training has evaporated. He doesn't feel like doing anything, and thoughts about the girl are making the situation even more tense. He can't even drink his tea in peace. He wants to invite her to breakfast, but she's no longer here. That's what it means. 6 years of a relationship and getting used to a person. He is already starting to dislike the food that is offered to him. His clothes are becoming uncomfortable, and everyone around him is starting to irritate him. Assistants constantly approach him with various questions, but he doesn't really listen to them, although he tries very hard to understand the essence of the conversation. The man says that they have recently had financial problems and that they need to sort this out urgently. Otherwise, the longer they delay, the more difficult it will be to solve the problem. The gentleman promised that he would definitely sort everything out, but not today. Then he said that if it was too urgent, someone else could do it, and the man replied that he did not want to take on such responsibility. It would be better for the gentleman to do it some other time, but himself. Then the assistant began to go about his business, and while he was walking, the Duke did not like the sound of his steps. The guy starts to feel bad. All this time he thinks not about his new girlfriend, but about Senelin. It was as if she had charmed him, or maybe it was just a matter of habit, and after a while, it would become much easier for him. He began to remember how they met, how wonderful everything was, how he wanted to do anything for her, just so that she would love him and be happy. After that, he thought that before he had new girls very often, but this was the first time with him. With Senelin, he feels special and does not even understand how he could betray her. He regrets his actions very much. He imagines how much pain it was for her, and he also deceived her, although he swore that they would always be together. The next day came. He was invited to another event. He really didn't want to go there, but he had to so as not to offend those who invited him. Usually he talks to everyone, stands in the center of the room, but today he stopped in the corner and people immediately noticed it. They realized that he had some problems in his past life, given the fact that no one is with him now. He never came to an event himself without a reason. Some aristocrats just passed by him so as not to irritate him with their smiles and questions about how he was doing. And then it started. He heard two girls start discussing Senelin. At first he thought they just remembered her, and then he saw that she was there too. Today she chose the young Master Pendragon as her partner, and probably came specifically to make the Duke jealous and see that she is doing well without him, that she doesn't miss him, isn't going to run, cry. She even thought about smiling in his face, but changed her mind because it would be too much. As soon as these two appeared here, they found themselves in the center of attention, and the girl specifically began to look for the Duke to see his reaction. She wants to put him in his place so that he can feel at least a little bit what it was like for her when she saw him with another girl. Not only did he already blame himself for this, but now he felt even more ashamed and awkward in front of everyone. One might think that he would hide from her or start ignoring her, but no, he also approached them and asked to introduce him to this person. In fact, he knows perfectly well who this guy is. He just wanted to hear how Senelin would introduce him. She remained silent, said nothing, and he began to say that they urgently needed to discuss something very important. She immediately understood that he wanted her back. Of course, she listens with pleasure and already begins to hope that someone will hear from him something like, "I was wrong. It was a mistake. I want to be only with you." She made it clear that they would definitely see him another day, but now she was with her partner and it would be wrong to make him wait, communicating with another guy, to whom, if he had not forgotten, she did not owe anything. His mood immediately improved. He wished them a good evening and hinted that since he was alone today, he would definitely not stay long. When suddenly he thought that he wouldn't let a stranger hold her hand, he grabbed her and started leading her along. That guy didn't understand anything. He didn't even have time to react, and he also felt that it was better not to interfere now. It was so sudden that she didn't have time to understand what he was doing. She didn't take her hand back, especially since she wouldn't be able to resist. They had already moved away from all the people to talk, and he asked why she came with the heir of the Pendragons. Was it really to take revenge on him for that situation? For him, this is the most ordinary provocation. She answered him that she would never do that, that it was not her method, and anyway, they were not even husband and wife to each other, so she could be anywhere, and with anyone, whether he liked it or not, especially after that incident. He didn't think that the girl would talk like that. He was still interested in knowing why she was going so far, and what she wanted to achieve by doing this. He asked sincerely, because otherwise there would only be more such conversations. He starts making excuses that he just met his friend then, and she starts saying that if he thinks that she was hurt by that situation, then no, she just came with a friend today, and it was not a provocation at all. She talks to him exactly the same way he does. Instead of apologizing and offering to continue living together, he squeezes her hand and asks why she is starting to draw some kind of line between them, as if hinting that he betrayed her. In fact, it is very difficult for a girl to talk about this. She is less and less able to control herself because she herself does not yet know what she wants. Her own safety is a priority, and it seems like she should not care about his cheating, but this is not so. Initially, she entered into this relationship only for business, but now that the first problems in the relationship have appeared, it really hurts her inside, as if some feelings have appeared over the years. This moment, he starts saying that he has something for her. The guy starts taking something out of his pocket and doesn't even hint what it might be. He took out some small jar with red contents. It could be anything. Perfume, medicine, potion, some kind of poison, and that's it. She doesn't even know what to say until he explains something, like how it relates to their conversation. He didn't even know she would be here today and couldn't bring it for her. At some point, Senelia couldn't hold back and started asking if this was by any chance the potion that they say can resurrect even the dead. And if he wants to give it to her, then in her opinion, it's too much. Especially after everything that happened between them, he only replied that it wasn't about that. Starts pouring this liquid onto his hand and explains that this is just his way of apologizing to her. But it is not yet clear what will happen next. The girl looks at her hand. She is afraid that it will hurt or that some kind of wound will remain, but something inside tells her that she can trust him. After all, there were many witnesses who saw who she came here with. And then she wondered if it should be easier for her now. The Grand Duke was approaching her much faster than she expected. She wanted to throw herself into his arms right now and feel whether he loved her or not. But still, something prevents her from doing it. She took her hand away very rudely. But if only the guy knew that what she thinks is always very different from what she does. Senelia apologized and said that she wanted to ask him for something so that he would not worry about her anymore and leave her alone. She didn't want to stay here. She did exactly what he deserved for that guy who was probably already waiting. It seems that the lady is trying to test how much he is ready to try to return everything to the way it was and beg her forgiveness. When suddenly he did not let her leave, grabbed her hand again, asks to listen to him carefully for just a couple of minutes. He wants to talk very seriously because he remembers how she used to talk to him about the wedding, and he knows how much she would like this. If this is how he wants to show his serious intentions, then that's great. It turns out that he is once again helping her to save this relationship, because if they do break up, the Emperor, having destroyed her for not keeping her word, will not care that all these years everything was fine and that any relationship, even the strongest, can crack. She has a great opportunity to agree now. Firstly, it seems that the Duke loves her. He wants to apologize for his actions. And secondly, in order to live happily ever after, she won't even have to try. If a girl even steps on the threshold of the Imperial Palace, she herself will be to blame. So now you need to think carefully and not make hasty decisions. Senelia didn't agree right away. She asked an awkward question. Is there someone he loves more than her? As far as she knows, he never runs after girls. Everything happens exactly the opposite. But if she knows it herself, then everything is obvious. He is in love with her and is ready to make her his wife. The lady's biggest fear is that he'll miss his ex-girlfriend, whom he dated for much longer than he did her. And also, for example, that girl might come back and do something that will make her afraid to stay in this relationship. She thought for a bit, then suddenly calmed down and began to apologize for her behavior today. He already thought that she forgave him and wanted to agree to the proposal. But no, after that, she just asked to let her go and didn't even say that she would think about it. The Duke is completely confused. He no longer understands how to get her back. She turned out to be too stubborn. This is the kind of person who can hardly forgive someone. And if he had known this earlier, then maybe everything would have been different. He asks her to just name what he must do for her so that she forgives him. He is ready to do anything, even if it is impossible. And then she dared to tell him that this relationship was doomed to failure, because initially she had no feelings, and also said a very unpleasant phrase that this was a damned marriage, which was better to end right here and now. He tells her that he doesn't quite understand what she's talking about, because everything was fine until he went to have tea with another girl. Sonalia is very difficult to understand. She just needs to agree to ensure a safe life forever, but she seems to have forgotten what it is like to stand in front of the Emperor and pray to live until the end of the day. She continues to explain to him that they have nothing to talk about. Everything has already been decided long ago, and all this can be called a waste of time. He looks at her and doesn't believe that he hears with his own ears. It was all much easier, but she stands her ground and is not going to listen to him. But it turns out that she spoke so boldly to him because of the drinks she had managed to drink as soon as she entered the event. But when she returned home, she gradually began to realize what she had done. After that, even if she wants to discuss something with him, he is unlikely to want to see her and has probably already warned the guards not to let her into the estate. She began to remember how his face fell apart from her harsh and unpleasant words. Although she had the right to be offended by him, but not to that extent. He was still ready to apologize, even suggested being together forever and now. When 2 days have passed since then, she still wants to apologize, see him, talk, but she is afraid to even leave the room. And so, when the Emperor found out that she had quarreled with the Duke, he even deigned to come and visit her. And only now did the girl understand what she had done, and that it would have been much better to simply forgive the Duke and be glad that he himself suggested it. But she made a mistake. Now she will have to explain everything to the Emperor. Since he came so late, it means that he is very worried about this whole situation. She started greeting him properly. She has no idea how this conversation will end. There is nowhere to dial. The guy says he's really happy to see her after so long, but that's where the good ends. He is very worried about the fact that she broke up with the Duke so easily, despite the fact that he himself offered to fix everything. The Emperor thinks that she forgot about her promise, or thought that after so much time, she could be free. Then he reminded that there was exactly 1 year left until Lucy's return, and if she had held out, there would have been very little time left, and everyone would have been happy. The biggest problem is that if Lucy comes back and falls in love with the Grand Duke again, it means that the grace period he gave her will end, and it's a warning that she only has 1 year left to live. She answered him that she understood everything, asked him again to trust her, and promised to win his heart completely before Lucy came back, and also decided to deceive him, as if it was still part of her plan and everything was under control. After which he asked her not to play with fire. After all, he is not as naive as it may seem. And also, I would like to suggest one way to make this plan even more perfect. He offers her to become the partner of the Count Pendragon's son at the upcoming Imperial banquet. In secular circles, everyone knows that the young Master Pendragon and the Grand Duke are bitter rivals. The girl tells him that she has already done this. She made the Duke jealous, but he behaves very restrained and is not provoked. To which he replied that of the two of them, only he knew better what would be best, and in short, she needed to make peace with the Duke, whether she liked it or not. In the end, he gave her some time, left her alone for now. After all, there is still time, and being alive, she can still be useful. She was so exhausted physically and mentally that she fell asleep on the floor in that room, and when the next day came, she was accidentally noticed by the maid. She had never seen the girl sleep like that. At first, she thought something had happened. She started talking to her, but the lady didn't hear anything. She made sure that she was carried into the room. Several hours passed, and now she opens her eyes and doesn't even imagine who she will see in front of her now. The girl opens her eyes wider, sees a very familiar silhouette. At first, she thought that she was still sleeping or that she was seeing something. But in front of her is indeed the Duke, whom she never expected to see. He asks how she feels and immediately apologizes if she felt awkward seeing him. She turned away from him, looked the other way, and only after that asked what he was doing here. They had already discussed everything, to which he said that he found out that she felt bad, and of course, he couldn't help but come. And also it seems that even after talking with the emperor, she seemed to have forgotten about it and continues to distance herself from the Duke, not thinking that over time he might get tired of running after her, and he won't do it anymore. Maybe she could refuse him what happened to her, but she herself doesn't know what happened, because she doesn't even remember how she ended up here. In fact, no matter how she behaves, inside she is very pleased that despite everything, he still tries to be there. He continues to be persistent, like a real man who wants to win a girl. He tries to talk to her, touch her, speaks in a calm voice, asks how he can help, but she still doesn't look him in the eyes and ignores him. Only now did Senelia think that since he came here right away, as soon as he found out what happened to her, it could mean that he was not indifferent to her, and he really was telling the truth at the time. Even though she still talks to them, the guy still behaves very correctly, doesn't leave her alone in such a state. It's better than leaving and doing as she constantly tells him. And besides her, he has a lot of different problems related to work. And not only sooner or later she will begin to appreciate it, but for now he does not see it. He also told her that he would be there until he was sure that she was okay, because he knew from experience how important it is to have someone there for you in difficult times. The girl is silent out of habit after talking with the emperor. She didn't really have time to understand what to do next. She didn't have time for it, and now she's just afraid to say too much, both good and bad. And then they hear the voice of the maid who says that Lady Lucy has returned, and they both couldn't believe that it was true. Senelia should have been very nervous, but she was absolutely calm, as if everything was under control. But it's unlikely that this is the case. She tells him that he should go. After all, the girl he waited for so long has come, and she is not going to keep him here. She asked him not to pay attention to her and to meet Lucy, who will be pleased. After that, she thanked him for everything he said and did for her, thought that he needed to rest, and hinted once again that they were waiting for him there. The guy himself didn't understand at what point he listened to her. Apparently, he was just tired of talking to a person who seemed to have switched off from talking and didn't notice him. It only means, what is Senelia thinking about, and why is she doing this to him? Now she is thinking about preparing for what will happen next. Right now, the Grand Duke is going to Lucy, and if the Emperor finds out about this, he will be very angry. The Duke could not help but do this because he feels guilty toward the girl, although he feels the same toward the two. Senelia herself asked him to leave, and he listened to her. We just need to understand how it happened that the girl returned a whole year earlier than she was supposed to. Did she really find out something and came to sort it out? And this is not the only moment that differs from the original plot, which makes her very wary. The Emperor found out about her ability, and this should not have happened. Then she became a puppet of the Emperor and was forced to get together with the Grand Duke, not of her own free will, but for the personal benefit of the Emperor. If this is the case, then now we need to carefully observe how everything that happens differs from the original story, and also whether her words or actions influence what awaits her in the future. She was sure that everything would be as she thought, but everything turned out differently, and now even more problems have appeared. The next day came, the residence of the Grand Duke, where it is never quiet. Something is always happening here, mostly not very good. The Duke stands in one place. He is thinking about something and does not look happy at all, and this is not surprising. He thought about Senelia and how during the 6 years they had spent as lovers, he had thought that their relationship was unshakable, eternal, but that had not been entirely true. He himself could not expect that he would be able to do this to her and was not prepared for such consequences. It seems to him that the stronger their feelings are, the more the Emperor will suspect them of something. It turns out that this is exactly why he had to choose another girl, whom he did not love for a single day. It's just strange that he didn't tell Senelia about this in secret. He probably thought that she wouldn't be able to keep it a secret and tell someone if she was blackmailed. He now blames himself for not thinking of the moment when she could become jealous of him and close her heart to him forever. If only he knew that everything would turn out like this, he would never have done this to her. Now you have to be very careful with such ideas, because then everything only gets worse. And also, he now has a very difficult choice. Since he hasn't seen Lucy yet, He needs to decide whether to greet her or not, because if the girl finds out that he asked her about her arrival and didn't come to say hello, she will be very offended. And on the other hand, if Senelia finds out that he did spend time with her, she will be even more offended and will take it as a sign that there can be nothing more between them. In the end, he decided to go to her house. He was met by the girl's mother, who was very happy to see him, as always. They have a great relationship, but he feels a little awkward in front of her. After all, if she knew what was happening now, she would hardly have so happily let him into her house. She says that she is very pleased that the guy came as soon as he could, and thinks that her daughter will also be very pleased. She started asking how he was doing, what he had been doing all this time, and what was new with him. Naturally, he couldn't tell her the truth, so he had to pretend as if everything was the same, everything was stable, and everything was fine. He thanked her for her concern, asked her the same question. They had a nice conversation and didn't notice how much time had passed, more than half an hour. And then he raises his head. At that moment, Lucy wanted to come down to them. She noticed him, was very happy, and said that finally it happened. She has a lot to tell him. He has too. And only who he ultimately decides to stay with will determine how much Lucy learns. And he tells her about the latest events. The girl waited for this moment for so long that she became confused and almost fell on the steps several times. She ran up to him with great speed. The guy had never seen her so happy. He imagines how she feels now. And if it weren't for all these problems, he would probably be just as happy. To tell her at least something, he says that he also misses her madly, but he is too emotional to say anything. He shows his trembling hands and asks not to think that he is less happy to see her. Even though he tried to show that everything was fine, the girl still didn't notice that something was wrong. She is sure that even if a person is incredibly happy to see someone, if his hands are shaking and he feels awkward, he can still be happy and at least smile. She suspected that something was wrong, especially when she tried to kiss him, and he reacted strangely, as if they were just friends. Her mood immediately got worse. This is further proof that a person who knows his partner and loves him very much will always be able to switch off whether he is cheating or not. She asked him to tell her honestly what happened to him because she would still be able to support him, and it is really always better than silence, with which he tries not to offend her. The Duke still doesn't react in any way. It's as if he realized that he stopped feeling for her, that she left and doesn't try to do it, as if they exist. Lucy reached out to hug him again, but he lost her hand as if he didn't want her to do it. Some strange energy appeared in the air. She even felt offended for Lucy. She clearly imagined it a little differently. She already understands that something is happening. She just doesn't know what exactly. He has never been so cold towards her, and on the day when they were supposed to be the happiest, everything turned out exactly the opposite. She probably already regretted that she came earlier and suspects that he might have another girlfriend, despite the fact that he promised that it was impossible. At that moment, the Duke decided that it was not worth deceiving such a beautiful girl. He did not want her to suffer and endure his coldness, so right now he dared to tell the truth, as everything really is. He said her name in a very serious voice and made it clear that she was about to hear something unpleasant. Her mother and she and the guy got worried too. He decided not to waste anyone's time. He said directly that he was very sorry, but he no longer loved her, and this relationship had to end right now. He also said that he was very sorry that he had to say this today, on such a beautiful day, but he couldn't deceive her either. The Duke also admitted that she understood everything correctly. He had another girl with whom he had truly fallen in love. He really didn't want to tell her such a truth, but she had to know it. He respects her as a person, so he didn't pretend that everything was okay. He apologized again, wished her all the best, and went home. Meanwhile, Senelia doesn't even know how the meeting between the Duke and his ex-girlfriend, who has already really become an ex, went. It seems to her that they are having a good time together, laughing, hugging. It will be very interesting to see her reaction when she finds out what really happened. The girl doesn't admit it to herself, but she is jealous of this man and doesn't even imagine that it's not in vain. He did tell her the truth, that he loves her, and for her sake he even broke up with a man he knows much more. She's worried for nothing now. She can't find a place for herself. She's probably already thought about how rudely she'll talk to him, The main thing is that she gives him the opportunity to say something and doesn't start running away. Senelia looked out the window, was not expecting anyone, and as soon as there was a knock on the door, she was very scared. But when she heard the maid's voice, she immediately calmed down. Of course, she let her in, asked what was the matter because if a woman comes without warning, it means something happened. But this time, she first asked if she was cold standing by the window. The girl replied that everything was fine and thanked her for her concern. She started to smile as if she felt good, but the woman knows her very well and understands that someone is pretending. At some point, they heard a strange sound, although there was no one around. All the servants were on the first floor, and they were standing quietly and not even moving. Senelia automatically looked towards the window. There she saw a crow, which immediately alerted her. It is very dark, it does not look cute, and usually near her window, you can rarely see something like that. This bird looks like I came to warn about something bad. There is a saying that if a black crow flies to the window, it means something bad. And also, there is a feeling as if she wants to fly into the room, but the girl is afraid to even come close to the window, not to mention letting her into the room. At that moment, she remembers that she had seen this bird somewhere before. This look seemed familiar to her, even too familiar. After that, she turned to the maid, said that she really wanted to rest and asked to leave her here alone. The woman asked just in case if everything was okay, because the lady's voice sounded somehow bad, as if something was bothering her. Senelia says that she is fine. She just wants some silence now, and in that case, the maid wished her a good rest and warned that if something happens, she is nearby. Then she closed the door behind her. She really didn't want to leave the girl alone, but it was her decision, and she couldn't ignore it. The lady, although she says that everything is fine with her, but she simply has not seen herself from the outside, namely this cold and empty look in which there is nothing good, only anxiety and worries. As soon as the crow was sure that the maid had already left, after a couple of minutes, she turned into an emperor. Now it is clear why the look here seems so familiar to her and why she asked the woman to leave. The guy says he's very pleased that she sensed his presence and reacted so quickly that he didn't even have to hint at anything. He had never appeared before her like this before, and she herself did not think that she would be able to recognize him, even in the form of a bird. He suddenly said that he was starting to like her. The guy had never met such a smart, sensitive, and intelligent girl like her before, but it was still unclear what it meant that he liked her as an ally or as a girl. He started to smile, came closer to her, and she, as always, does not understand where this is all going. Meanwhile, he asked, since she is so good at noticing such things, why then did not she stop the Duke when he was walking? She doesn't know what to answer him, but if she only knew how their conversation ended, she would now be much more confident and not afraid of anything. She could boldly say that everything is going according to plan, but she has to justify herself. Then he asked why she was shaking so much with fear, as if she already knew that she had done something wrong. He hadn't said anything like that. When suddenly I thought to show her a little mercy. It happens very rarely, but it happens if only I knew what it means and what he has in mind. He strokes her face, asking her to stand up first, especially since he sees that she is not feeling very well. Of course, she thanked him, although she did not expect such kindness, but she still sensed a catch. The emperor did not even say why he came. She really wants to tell him to tell her right away why he came, because the more she is afraid, the faster she will go crazy. Her eyes start to close, her head starts to hurt, and all because of constant anxiety and a complete lack of understanding of where this is all leading. The guy realized that it was better not to waste time. He said that since Lucy had already returned, instead of being cruel to her, he would give her two options to choose from, what she would do next. The first option is to make the Duke confirm his love for her right now. She has a maximum of 2 days to do this, given today. Senelia already understood that this was impossible. This man was offering her to receive a declaration of love from the Duke, who was in love with another girl and was probably already on a date with her. If the first option seems unsuitable to her, there is a second option, to get closer to Lucy, for example, to become friends with her. But not just like that. She will have to get close to her and then follow her life from the inside and pass on all the interesting information to him. Watch the wallpaper by any means necessary, even if she has to sit at the next table in a cafe. How she will do it no longer interests him. And all so that she would know when they plan to fold their forces, tell the Emperor about it, and they will get rid of Lucy together. The Duke is not as scary to the Emperor as that girl, so he ultimately wants to get rid of her alone. It's a very difficult choice. It turns out that in the end, she will have to get rid of a person who did not even do anything bad to her. The Emperor said just in case that if she was not happy with something, she could choose nothing, but she should remember what it could mean for her. But on the other hand, what sounds even more frightening is the fact that she will have to destroy the Master of the Sword, who has never been defeated in all this time. The girl didn't think that she would get into such trouble. She doesn't have a single normal choice. In any case, she risks her life. It's just a matter of time. The Emperor is used to thinking that there are no impossible tasks. It's as if he doesn't understand who he's ordering this to and what the girl is really capable of. It seems to him that when it comes to life, a person is ready for anything. For him, nothing is impossible. And this is the most common manipulation. He sees how hard it is for her to make this choice. He also throws a small bag nearby, offering to look at what's inside. She opens it and finds some small ring there. It looks like a normal decoration, but since the Emperor gives it, it means that it is not so. He'll probably tell you himself what his special feature is, or maybe this is a test so that she can feel it herself. It turns out that if you turn the gem in the center, there will be a hidden blade there. It is all covered in deadly poison. And then the girl regretted that she had ever picked it up. She became scared and didn't understand what she should do with it. She tells him that with all due respect, but if the Marquise finds out about this, not only she, but her entire house will be destroyed. To which he replies that this poison is intended exclusively for the royal family, so there is no risk that anyone else will suffer from it. The symptoms last about a year. The person weakens and slowly dies without realizing it, as if he had fallen ill with an ordinary disease. And then he says that if she is worried about the situation, that it can harm her, then he can help her. Puts this ring on his finger and says that so be it. He will give her a title so that no one will even think of harming her or taking revenge. Senilia is so confused that she is completely confused. She sees how her hand is shaking, and now she just wants to be alone and stop hearing his voice. In fact, she doesn't care anymore how he will help her, because one way or another, only one outcome awaits her, and that is death. Only then did she begin to understand that since he was talking about a title that would provide such security, it meant only one thing, that she could take the place of the Empress, no matter how strange it might sound. The girl is already confused. At first, she feels comfortable with him. After that, he says phrases after which you don't want to live. And now he hints at marriage, which says that this man is ready to do anything to achieve his goal, and he doesn't care what people think. And it can also be perceived as a threat that will bind her freedom forever, although it never existed. Now she is doomed to be his puppet for the rest of her life, which apparently will not last long. As they had agreed, the very next day the girl came to the Duke's estate early in the morning, not even realizing that he had a lot to tell her. All her plans can change in an instant. It will be very interesting to watch this. She is about to find out that Lucy is not here and that he did not even spend the night with her. Senilia doesn't know a lot all this time, how much they haven't seen each other. The guy walked around his house and at every corner memories popped up in his head, especially when he entered the room where she lived. He found out that they had guests, went down to the street and didn't think that he would see her, the girl who had been avoiding him all the time, and then suddenly she came herself without an invitation. She asked him to go into the living room without further ado, said that she didn't need any treats, she just wanted to discuss one matter. She had a request for him. Naturally, she was able to intrigue him. He has no idea what she wants, but he is not going to refuse. First, he will listen to her and then decide whether to agree or not. He tells her that he is ready to listen to her, even if it takes half a day. After all, this is her first request in all the time they have known each other. She immediately tells him that while he is on a business trip, she would like to get permission to visit her home, her family's home. In that case, he did not allow himself to refuse her. He even offered to take some jewelry with him. She had not seen her parents for a long time, and it would be wrong to cross. The girl was surprised. She said that there was no need for this. After all, her parents can accept her without any gifts, especially jewelry. He was informed that preparations for departure had already been completed and that there were literally a couple of minutes left before he had to leave. Senelia is very glad that he has already agreed. She just didn't expect that he would want to help somehow, especially to please her parents. In the end, he already had to leave. He said goodbye and said that as soon as he returned back, they would definitely see each other again, if necessary. This time he did not hint that he would like to talk about the relationship. He did not say anything about Lucy. He probably just wanted her to talk about it first. The guy then thought that she was going there for a couple of days, a week at most. But after that day, she didn't come back even a month later. He was already thinking about finding out what happened. He thought that she might be in trouble, but he couldn't even bet that she did it on purpose and didn't just not specify how long she would be leaving for. It's been a long time since they last met. When he saw her, he started to be dependent on communicating with her again and again. He misses her very much. He thought that he had already come to terms with the breakup, but no, it only became more difficult for him. Not a single evening passed that he did not think about her. He expects her to thank him for letting her go there, even though he knows that, given the whole situation, she's unlikely to say anything to him at all. Meanwhile, another day had come. Today he had not planned to see anyone, but the assistant came up and said that Lady Rose from the Count's family had arrived to see them. She was already in the living room and waiting for him. It's not nice to keep guests waiting. He came to this beautiful girl. She brightened his day a little, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have bad news for him. To begin with, he politely offered her a cup of tea. She said that she had already had breakfast and, of course, thanked him for the offer. As expected, she asked him how he was doing, how his life was. Even though she understood that usually no one answers such questions honestly, he said that everything was fine. There were no particular problems and thanked her for her concern. After this, the girl decided to get straight to the point so as not to delay either him or herself, because she knows from experience how she doesn't like it. When guests linger too long and can't get to the point, Rose very quickly said that she wanted to take a seat next to His Highness, but he expected anything but that. He even asked to repeat these words to make sure he hadn't misheard. Rose confessed how long she had been thinking about it. She had had such thoughts even a few years ago when he was with Lady Senelia, but she could not bring herself to confess her feelings to him. And now that I found out that they kind of had a falling out and don't live together, I thought, why not offer him as a girlfriend, by the way? Without any hesitation, after he was polite and smiled at her, he changed and made it clear that it was impossible, especially since it was possible that this was some kind of test from Senelia or Lucy. Then he said that if she didn't want to discuss anything else with him except this, then perhaps he would go about his business and advised her to do the same. They had nothing more to talk about. The Duke can't imagine how he'll start any new relationship now. No matter how beautiful and smart the girl in front of him is, he only needs one, and that's Senelia. He doesn't care how it looked from the outside, how much he offended her, how impolite or ugly it was. The main thing is that he didn't betray anyone again and told the truth. And in the meantime, the next day came. The Duke thought all night about the fact that 10 people like Rose could come to him every day. If another girl comes to him, he won't be able to stand it. He will order the guards not to let anyone in, naturally, except for one girl, to his relatives and the Emperor. After that incident, he can't find a place for himself. He already wants to sort out all these problems, start living calmly, as it was before. He understands that he himself is to blame for everything. If he hadn't betrayed his girlfriend, then none of this would have happened, although it all started even earlier, when he was dating Senelia in secret from Lucy. He is angry with himself for this and doesn't know what to do now. A simple apology won't be enough. You need to come up with something better, something that no girl can resist. He thought that he would definitely not be receiving any guests in the near future. He needed to have a good rest, but as luck would have it, an assistant came up and said that they had a guest, and he was waiting for him in the living room. While he was thinking about what to answer, the girl came to him herself, and as it turned out, it was Lucy, who really needed to talk to him. It hasn't been easy for her all this time either. She wants to have a heart-to-heart talk, after all. He didn't explain what happened and why she doesn't suit him anymore. The girl apologized for coming suddenly. She herself doesn't like it when people come to her like that. But the situation is very serious, and she doesn't have the patience to put everything off until later. Of course, he didn't kick her out. He offered to go into the living room, asked her to prepare tea for them, and now he's asking how he can help her. The Duke does not hide the fact that he is not very inclined to this conversation. He would like it to end as soon as possible, although I understand that usually such meetings do not end quickly. Lucy reminded him of how they broke up last time. It really hurts her that she doesn't understand the reason for their breakup, and she really wants to hear the truth from him, whatever it may be, and he doesn't even know what to answer to this, because there have been too many situations when he said something and then regretted it very much. Out of the blue, for some reason, she started telling me that when she was sent to war by order of His Majesty, she didn't just fight, while her mother stayed in the capital to attract the attention of the emperor. She used the battlefield to attract many allies to her side, and she succeeded. She says that she has gained the strength to resist the emperor, and these are exactly the words that His Majesty has long been prepared for. Lucy offers the Duke to be with her, to knock him down from his title. And now everything depends only on how he reacts to this. Now it is clear why the emperor is against the girl and not against the Duke. He knew that she was against him and was using all her acquaintances to harm him. The guy began to remember how they supported each other in childhood, how they were each other's support. And also, few people know that they are actually siblings. Their father didn't care about their mother's death. He was constantly having fun with his girlfriends and paid almost no attention to his children. On the one hand, they were unlucky with their father, but they were lucky that they had each other. They became real brothers who helped each other not to give up. He remembers very well all those moments when it seemed that everything was lost. Everything was terrible. There was no point in living on, and how his brother told him that they would still show their father here, that no one and nothing would break them. When they were together, they were invincible. They went straight ahead and never saw any obstacles. It was time to answer Lucy. He thought about how to answer her more gently and still said that she was very much mistaken about something. He never had and never will have the intention to harm this person. Accordingly, he is not going to help her, and since he already knows that she has this in mind, he will take his side and prevent her. He is not embarrassed that she is very strong, that she probably already has a flawless plan. Even this smile means nothing to him. He decided for himself that he would always be on the side of his relatives and would not allow anyone to break any of them. She answered him that she knew that he would answer like that. Moreover, she didn't even doubt it. But for some reason, she behaved very calmly, as if she had one very serious argument that could convince him. She asked to be allowed to tell him one more thing, after which he himself would want her to stay and talk for some time. The guy didn't forbid her anything, and she boldly said that he doesn't love Senelia, and everything that they feel for each other is all an illusion. The Duke doesn't quite understand what she's talking about, and most importantly, why. She answered him that only her feelings for him are real and will never disappear, and Senelia, as quickly as she appeared in his life, will quickly disappear. It sounded like a threat, especially considering the fact that it was the master of the sword who was saying it to him with such confidence. One might think that he would simply kick her out of his house and that's it. But no. At the very last moment, the girl says that she is a real thorn of the Chlorokion, which means that the emperor is wrong and that he pays all his attention to Senelia. It turns out that his enemy is the one who can and wants to move him from his place as emperor. And also, although no one knew this, she came back here much earlier than everyone thinks. It was exactly 5 years ago when he just started dating another girl. The guy is completely confused. He doesn't understand what all this means and how she could have returned earlier and been watching them all this time. She says that everything is very simple. In short, she wants to change the future, and if she managed to end the war, then nothing is impossible for her anymore. And if she has something in mind, it will definitely happen. So if she offers something to someone, these people better not resist and be on her side. She has been through so much that fighting the emperor is like a game to her, something she won't even take seriously. And she left the most important thing for later. If they are separated, then none of them will survive, especially he and those who are on the emperor's side. In the end, she simply left the choice up to him, and also hinted that if he was not with her, he would die at the hands of his brother, whether he believed it or not. Lucy repeated many times how it would be more beneficial for him, that they should always be together and be against the emperor. It sounds very scary, but he dared to answer that this is some kind of absurdity, even though he and his brother are not getting along very well now. This does not mean that he will be on her side. After all, they are not relatives, and he cannot do this to him, and he is sure that in his place, he would have done exactly the same. The girl was surprised that she didn't understand how serious everything was. She was offended that he didn't believe her words, and he saw it as acting, and that she was trying very hard to deceive him and then take revenge for the betrayal. In that case, she has no choice but to tell him in detail what awaits him in the future. Exactly 2 years from now, he will go to war against the emperor to seize the throne. This long war will end with his defeat, and she will die with him, or rather immediately after him, as soon as the emperor gets to her. The Duke decided to explain that if she still hadn't understood it, then he wasn't striving for the throne and wasn't going to compete with his brother, and he also wanted to believe that the emperor was of the same opinion. She is so stable that she never stops explaining that he should finally wake up, face the truth, and understand that you don't always need to be on the side of your relatives, especially those who are ready to do anything for their title. And she is sure that the emperor is just one of those people. The guy was already tired of repeating that no matter how they treated each other now, no one and nothing would force him to go against his brother. He will not be able to do this and will never go through this if he suddenly agrees to be on her side. Now it became clear to him why she was so happy about that meeting when she didn't yet know that they would no longer be together. She just wanted to manipulate. Then it would be easier to make him speak out against the emperor, but now it's not as easy as she would like. In fact, he is not angry with her at all. On the contrary, the guy is grateful that she is so worried about him and offers the most profitable option for them, but he will never be able to believe what he really needs, and it will be safer to believe Lucy. He also told her that the future that she already knows and saw may be different from what actually awaits them, and so that she would understand for sure that she doesn't have to come here anymore. He said directly that he only loves Senelia, and now there is nothing in common between them, only pleasant memories, nothing more. Finally, she asked him how sure he was that he wouldn't regret such a decision later, that she wouldn't suggest anything like that a second time and would figure out how to act independently and against both of them. I really wanted him to understand that that girl is not the person he needs to be with. But even the phrase itself sounds strange. After all, it is not up to her to decide who is better off staying with whom. She starts to get very angry. She failed to interest the Duke, although she planned to talk for only a couple of minutes and was sure that he would understand her. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. One of the assistants apologized for interrupting their meeting, but still asked to be allowed to enter. He introduced himself as Adrian. He has urgent news about Lady Daphne, and it would be better if he said it right now. The guy realized that now he needed to set priorities. He made it clear that it was time for someone to leave. After all, he had things to do that did not concern her. She hints to him that he might regret his decision, but he doesn't even want to listen to her anymore, politely saying that he is busy now and that she has nothing more to do here. And also, before leaving, he had to say goodbye. Only said that it would be good if she forgot this address and would not bother him again. Never. It was very rude from all sides, but she doesn't understand it any other way. And he is also glad that the assistant came right now and freed him from this Lucy. A few minutes later, the Duke learns that a terrible tragedy has occurred. The Baron, that is, Senelia's father died some time ago as a result of an accident in a carriage. He was not prepared for such news. People who learned about it and checked the area have an assumption that the carriage slipped on the wet road and that no one was to blame. It was also possible to find out that after his daughter broke up with the Duke, the man rushed there in a hurry but encountered a tragedy. The guy thought about how his only daughter had stubbornly insisted on meeting him when he had been vehemently opposed to the relationship, so surely the news of their breakup now must have been a shock to him. He can't imagine what the girl is going through now. She had a great relationship with her father. She needs support now. She already knew about everything, went outside despite everything, neither the weather nor her tiredness. Senelia is very hungry, but still, now it would be hard for her to be within 4 walls. She would go crazy. At some point, the girl couldn't take it anymore. She fell to the floor crying. Her assistant supported her, But still, it was very difficult for her to find the words to somehow calm her down. And in the meantime, very unexpectedly, the mother comes up. She looked at her daughter with some strange look. It was very scary, as if she had something to do with the fact that her husband died. At that moment, the girl remembered how good everything had been with them all this time. She never needed anything. She was a beloved child. She felt that she was completely safe. Mom and Dad were always there. They paid her a lot of attention, often gave her gifts, even when there was no opportunity to do so. They always tried to make her happy, and now her mother has changed a lot. It was as if she felt that this would happen and was mentally prepared for it. And it was also very painful to watch how she came, did not shed a single tear, spoke in a very cold voice, as if she did not care. Senelia simply did not recognize her mother. It was as if she had been replaced. But the woman loved her husband very much, and always said that if he died before she died, she would not survive it. Perhaps she is simply hiding her emotions and trying to accept the fact that she needs to come to terms with it and move on. So they had already entered the house, were talking about what had happened, and then a phrase was said that hit her very hard in the heart. Mom said that there was no point in remembering a person who was no longer there. The girl immediately began to doubt whether they were pretending to be a loving couple for the sake of their child, so that he would think that everything was fine with them. It all looks like they were hiding something from the child, deceiving her all these years, because judging by the mother's reaction to her husband's death, it is impossible to think anything else. And in the meantime, the Duke called her to him. He immediately said that he found out everything and thought that they needed to discuss something. He didn't even have time to say hello to her. He immediately expressed his condolences and said that she could always come to him any day, anytime, without warning if she felt bad or sad. He doesn't even know what they usually say in such cases. He just wants to keep quiet, and she probably does too. They remembered what a good man her father was, how much he did to make her happy. The guy even envies her a little. He didn't have a father like her, and if necessary, he is ready to replace him. He can become a person for her to whom she can come with any problem, just like to him. He will always be able to understand her, support her, listen to her, will love her, but he didn't say this so that she wouldn't think that he was using this situation to get her back. Senelia couldn't even imagine that he would worry about her so much, that he would say such special words just when they were needed.